It's really great to talk after Carlo because it's so inspiring, so visual, and they actually make things. Like Carlo, I'm also trained as an architect. But something has been bugging me all my life, and that has been that people tend to tell you when you're in school, they tend to tell you, oh, well, I'm the teacher, I know the truth, and you should just trust me because I say so. And later on, I became an architect, and I became an architect to change the world. And then I was told that as an architect, you have to build buildings. And somehow I couldn't believe that at any moment in time, it's always a building that will change the world. So I kind of created my own profession as I went along. What I would like to talk to you about today is our work with cities and the way decisions are taken in cities. The decision that is taken that decides in many ways whether a city like Hong Kong or Taipei will get the smart bicycles that Carlo is inventing, will deploy the sensors, will use the data in the right way. So the first thing you know about modern world, and you're very privileged to grow up with this, is that we have instant fulfillment. The city of London, as well as the city of Lagos, have one thing in common, and they have that in common with any Asian city as well. They have an iStore. You can buy an iPad. The day Apple decides to give the world an iPad, you have it. You can buy it. Sometimes you have to wait a little, but it's available instantly and everywhere. Now, cities also have other issues in common. This is a blind lady in Minnesota, and she's talking about, she's actually one of the people that gave the award for the greatest innovation to the blind community in the city. It's a talking traffic light. You press the button and it tells you the street corner where it is located, so that blind people, when they get lost, all they have to do is find a traffic light, push the button, and they reorient themselves. This cost 3 million euros, so about 30 million Hong Kong dollars, and to deploy. But this lady is still moving the same 3 routes. A blind person, when you see them walking around the street with a stick, it's usually a maximum of 3 routes they can use. So at the same time, we had Boris in Stockholm. He's a blind person. Tell us about e-Adept, a small navigation device. It's like a GPS connected to your mobile phone, and it allows him to move anywhere in the city, whenever he wants. It's a personal navigator for blind people. It actually doesn't cost the city any money. It saves the city 17 million euros every year because it changes everything around a blind person. And Boris says he no longer is a blind person. In fact, he thinks he is 90% less disabled than he was before. So how can it be that an iPad is instantly available everywhere on the planet, and a solution as important, as transformative as making the blind people 90% less disabled is available in one city, and in another city they think a speaking traffic light is the greatest innovation of their time? So e-Adept is a solution that Boris is using. It allows you to do this by having real-time data about how the city works. So it involves some of the systems that Carlo talked about, but actually it's just a little bit like Google Maps and a Wii controller that knows where you are. It's a very, very simple technology at the end. The system knows where are the waste containers, where are the stairs, where are the different activities of a city, and what kind of obstacles emerge. So in this case, the blind person is told to turn right and cross the street because there is a public work in the street. None of this is rocket science. None of the technologies developed here or deployed here are in any way extremely complex. The value for Stockholm that the city calculates is not just how much does the system cost. It's very cheap to operate. It costs about $500,000 per year to run. But it actually generates benefit to the local economy. The objective is that blind people, if they're no longer disabled, can go to work. They can lead a normal life. They can become part of society and the economy. It's a benefit to the citizens. It's a huge benefit to the relatives that no longer have to drive them and bring them around. And in fact, it transforms all the social services. One group less is disabled, one group less needs support, one group more is empowered to take part in the city. So, here's my question. Do the 126,000 blind people in Hong Kong know they could have this system? No. I assume none of you knew about this technology. All of you know months before the new iPad is going to enter a store that it's coming. Who should tell them? Whose role is it? Is it your responsibility to find out what is there and tell everyone? Is it the government's responsibility to know everything everywhere that is happening? Is it the responsibility of the blind people to keep searching the internet whether somewhere something interested has come about? And this is a critical question because it's one thing that we are able to develop these social technologies. It's another thing that we're able to make them happen in our society. The world of cities and local government is wonderful. We have 557,000 cities that spend $4.5 trillion every year. It's a massive market. Yet Transparency International shows us that the quality of decision-making and the accountability, meaning how much do you know about how your government is investing money and why they're giving it to someone or another, varies greatly. Some cities like Barcelona, where I live, they have a very high ranking on the transparency scale. Other cities in other parts of Spain, for example, have only 28 out of 100 points in transparency. So what do you think? Who's going to have a greater chance when you're a blind person to get the best service you need? Is it going to be a city that is accountable and transparent, or is it going to be a city that doesn't share with its citizens how they're taking decisions? So as a rule, this market fails. I mean, the iPad story is very clear. Apple is much better at making sure that everything happens everywhere than our governments. And one issue is that 87% of cities do not process unsolicited proposal. What's an unsolicited proposal? It's if someone comes to you with a technology like e-Adept for the blind people and says, wouldn't that be great for your city? Wouldn't that be transformative? Well, it turns out that almost no government on the planet has any way of managing that. They don't know what to do with it. They say that's interesting, and then they put it in a drawer, and that's it. Nothing. But also another problem is that almost all cities on the planet do not publish their problems. So let's imagine you've invented this technology for the blind. If you do not know which of the 557,000 communities in the world wants to help their blind people, you're going to have a very difficult time finding out where you should go. You can't travel to all of them and hope that one of them says yes. So you need to take decisions. And in fact, this is the other side. Now, you've seen several people here over the past days talk about social innovations. And one of the biggest problems that social innovators and entrepreneurs have is not only to do what they're doing, but to actually scale it, to bring their solution that works in one community to many others. And one of the challenges they face, much like the company that invented e-Adept, is that actually, because the cities are not publishing their problems, because the cities have no way to decide what is important and valuable for them, they end up traveling to 1,000 cities to find 120 that say, oh, that's interesting, and then they sign 11 contracts. So they spend $10 million just to find 11 customers. You don't find an investor that will give you the money for this. If you go to your bank and say, I'm going to travel to 1,000 cities to find 11 customers, they will say, you're in the wrong business. Why don't you do ringtones for an iPhone instead? And this business cost, this is a normal, kind of standard go-to-market price for a company. 10% of your revenue should go into acquiring, finding new customers. If you're a city innovator, that cost is 42%, meaning that you are developing a technology or solution for society that can change the world, transform lives, yet it's almost impossible to finance, to build a business, to take it to market. So our vision is, what if? What if actually you could talk directly to the cities that need you? What if the cities knew what they wanted and how to handle it? This shouldn't be so complicated. So our vision is to build a faster market, an open market where things spread, where technologies are instantly available in the future. CityMart is our organization. It's an online platform together with a wonderful team of researchers and others that help the cities to define the problems and help companies with technologies to reach out and connect to those cities. It's very simple. It's what Amazon does for books. We're building that for cities. And one of the programs we're doing is a program called LLGA, Cities Pilot the Future, in which currently 22 global cities are publishing their problems to us. So we work with them to say, what is a problem you want to solve in the short term? What is a thing you know you want to do and you don't know how that should be done? So that we early on can show them what is out there in the market. So I'll give you a couple of examples here. One is about equity. Going back to the way our governments, our cities are doing things, 2/3 of cities say that the only way they can really find out whether something works is actually by their employees having informal contacts into the business. Let me repeat this. $4.5 trillion, 2/3 of that, $3 trillion a year, are going through informal contacts of public employees into the business community. Do you know what that means? That is basically talking to your friends, the people you know, the companies you know. No wonder that no one is changing the lives of blind people if no one actually talks to the companies that really can change the lives. So in Lagos, this is Africa's most populous city with 17 million inhabitants and 500,000 new people arriving in the city. It's a very comparable situation to what is happening in Asia. The city published a challenge for us. Nollywood has, in fact, the second largest movie industry in the world, only after Bollywood. They're producing 2,000 feature films a year. It employs 1 million people, but one of the challenges is that in average, those 1 million people only get $500 a year from their employment in the industry. And one of the reasons why this is happening is that 90%, 80 to 90% of the output of Nollywood, which is watched by millions of Africans, is pirated. It's pirated because there's no distribution system. People copy the DVDs at different points so that they get access to it. It's not cheaper to get a pirated movie. It's not like a Hollywood movie. It's the only way to get it. So Nollywood gave us the challenge and said, look, can we reduce piracy by 50% or more? What would happen? What would happen? It would increase the revenue for the 1 million people from $500 to $4,000. They could actually live off it. It would make an enormous contribution to the local economy, a city that has a lot of social problems. They say this is the most important question for Lagos, a city of 17 million people, is video piracy. Who would have thought? So Lagos then found, through us, a company called e-Adept from Hawaii, from Honolulu. No one had ever heard of this company, who have exactly the right technology that fits the viral distribution system, the copying and copying and copying, with a revenue model. Lagos begins to actually vision together with a company and another organization that is promoting new models of video production in November. And in September last year, they actually invested $1 million into a pilot to train every single filmmaker to fund 3 new movies and change the distribution model. And remember, this is $1 million spent not on making movies, but on actually transforming the lives of 1 million people. Here's another challenge that we were given on open systems. 90% of local governments do not trust the information and project references provided by companies. So that means if you develop this technology for the blind people, no one believes you that it works because they don't know you. You're not friends with anyone. So the city of San Francisco gave us a challenge after 3 years of trying to buy and upgrade a control system for the lighting in the city, and they couldn't find a solution. A what? What did I just say? A control system for lighting. Well, how interesting is that? You know, it's to turn the lights on and off. Well, it turns out that actually if you think of an open control system for lighting, you can actually, it runs like an urban internet. It controls the lighting. You can turn it on and off. You can connect it to sensors. You can connect it to the smart energy systems. You can connect it to traffic monitoring, traffic signals, street surveillance, gunshot monitoring. You can actually run a whole range of urban services on this. So this is why the city was interested in it. They weren't interested in turning the lights on and off. They recognized that they're building an infrastructure that could be like the internet for the city. And in fact, this is what they were after. And often behind these technical challenges and solutions are major strategic decisions. So Paradox Engineering, a small company from Switzerland that no one had ever heard of, had the right technology. 59 entries, companies like Philips, companies like Cisco, big companies were presenting their solution. No, it was this small company that has the right solution. And just 4 months later, the pilot was up and running in the city. Citizens can see it. Developer community can start developing apps and components for it. They can test different sensors and learn how all of this works. So lastly, as I said before, we're really obsessed about a problem. These things we're doing are a result of trying to fix a problem that is a global problem. It doesn't help if I solve that problem in Barcelona, but we're building a system, a global system, in which currently 80 cities take part and more than 5,500 technology companies, social innovators, social entrepreneurs, and other organizations that develop innovations. So in 2011, 0% of local governments did market intelligence. They didn't look around how they could solve the problems. They just went ahead and did the same things as usual. So we measure our impact against that. So like I said, 80 cities are taking part of this. We've so far now published 77 such challenges to solve major problems in cities. We've completed 11 such pilots, as I've shown. We've got another 19 that are taking place right now. This year, we're going to publish 100 challenges. And decision makers in cities got 10 times more market intelligence. This is how they found e-Adept. This is how they found the Swiss company Paradox Engineering to solve their problems. One important part, we actually eliminated reinventing solutions. Cities no longer spend public money on reinventing a solution, on actually coming up with something that exists before. Because what happens when you reinvent a solution? You're actually spending 20 to 40 times as much money. It takes 4 to 8 years because you make all the mistakes someone else has done. And in the end, you're going to subsidize, you're going to keep paying for that solution because there's not actually a business behind it. Cities have discovered through us 10,000 new solutions. This is absolutely incredible. You know, they didn't know these solutions could exist and could solve their problems. And we've actually, and this is, I think, important just to conclude, we started doing this in 2004. We started to identify this problem and try to find different ways of doing this. This is not much different from Carlos' slide about mobile technologies. It's taken us a good 6 to 8 years to get to a point where the formula is working and where suddenly we can work with dozens and dozens of cities around the world, whether in Asia or Europe or America, to actually solve these problems. So open markets let us think big. Once the market is open, we can actually think of the full potential of transformation. And our work, without spending a penny extra, is massively transformative. And it's so transformative that, several times over, it liberates enough resources to solve all the world's basic problems. So that's it. Thank you so much.